When a black man is accused of being guilty and the alleged victim is white, 99.9% of the time, the black man is convicted. And white people are angry because they always get what they want from the criminal justice system. And this time, they did not get what they want from the criminal justice system. This is why they're upset. Last time I checked, more black people per capita have been executed than white people in America. I think that's the race card. More black people in jail for dope, even though white folks use it more. I think that's playing the race card. More black kids being expelled from school for a zero tolerance law growing out of a white Columbine high school tragedy. Rest in peace to those children. Condolences to their families. But how does a white tragedy in a suburb trigger historic rates of expulsion and suspension of black boys? I call that the race card. Even in predominantly black schools, most of the teachers are white. I think that's called the race card. Most lawyers are white. Most judges are white. Most juries are white. How dare you accuse us? Dear white people. Dear white people. Dear white people, how dare you accuse us of playing the race card when you don't have any other card to play? I rest my case. Why is white America still infatuated with the O.J. Simpson verdict? I would argue in the premise of my message today is white people in their eternal contradictions and double standards. White America in its eternal contradictions and double standards can't let the O.J. verdict go because under the rule of white supremacy and through the practice of white privilege, especially as it pertains to the criminal injustice system, white people almost always get whatever they want when it comes to black folk. When we go back to Reconstruction, when we go back to slavery, when we go back to Jim Crow, and even when we look at the criminal injustices against black people today, we see that white folks always get a guilty verdict whenever they want one. So this whole outcry by white America against the O.J. Simpson verdict, what is this infatuation? This infatuation grows out of a privilege that says when a white man is guilty and when a black man is accused of being guilty. When a black man is accused of being guilty and the alleged victim is white, 99.9% of the time, the black man is convicted. And white people are angry because they always get what they want from the criminal justice system. And this time, they did not get what they want from the criminal justice system. This is why they're upset. It's not about justice. None of us knows whether OJ was absolutely guilty or not, because we were not there. You need to understand the difference between evidence and proof. Evidence is not proof. OJ's blood was in the Bronco. That's evidence. The glove may have been able to fit, but they say he acted in court as if the glove could not fit. That's evidence, but that's not proof. Proof means somebody saw it. Proof means it was caught on film. Proof cannot be debated. Proof cannot be refuted. Proof is absolute. You have evidence. You don't have proof. For example, if I come into your house and steal something from you, if you see me walking out your house, that's evidence I may have stolen. Evidence. But I come in your house all the time. It's evidence. But if you walk in the house and catch my hand inside your safe, that is proof. Proof is conclusive. Evidence is not conclusive. Evidence only hints at the possibility of guilt. Evidence, no matter how strong it is, only hints at the possibility of guilt. Proof is absolute. There is no proof that OJ killed Nicole. There is a lot of evidence, but there's no proof. And to be quite frankly with you, white America, to be quite frank, you need to blame yourself if he was guilty. If he was guilty, you need to blame yourself for why he got off. Because after all, it was you, Marsha Clark, and her co-prosecutor, Christopher Darden. After all, it was you, Marsha Clark, and her co-prosecutor, Christopher Darden, who decided to put the number one racist alive on the stand. You knew Mark Fuhrman was not going to get on the stand and admit to being a racist. You knew Mark Fuhrman was not going to get on the stand and say that he has intentionally inflicted police violence against black folks. You knew he was going to lie because your case, so much of your case rested upon his testimony. You knew he was going to lie. So you're the one who put the number one racist in the LAPD on the stand, and Johnny Cochran, rest in peace. Johnny Cochran, rest in peace, took it and he used it as he should have. And y'all talking about he played the race card. You put the most notorious racist on the stand and let him lie in front of national television. Don't blame that on black folks. That was a dumb decision by the prosecution. Okay? Y'all did that. He had no business on the stand. Y'all did that. And Johnny Cochran, being the master of the courtroom he is, one of the greatest lawyers we've ever had, okay? He took it and he exposed it and exploited it like he was supposed to do. And then y'all say he played the race card. And then y'all say he played the race card. Okay? Last time I checked, more black people per capita have been executed than white people in America. I think that's the race card. More black people in jail for dope, even though white folks use it more. I think that's playing the race card. More black kids being expelled from school for a zero tolerance law growing out of a white Columbine high school tragedy. Rest in peace to those children. Condolences to their families. But how does a white tragedy in a suburb trigger historic rates of expulsion and suspension of black boys? I call that the race card. Even in predominantly black schools, most of the teachers are white. I think that's called the race card. Most lawyers are white. Most judges are white. Most juries are white. How dare you accuse us? Dear white people. Dear white people. Dear white people, how dare you accuse us of playing the race card when you don't have any other card to play? I rest my case. How dare you accuse black America of playing the race card when you have never played any other card but race? Last time I checked, for me and my brothers and sisters who identify as unapologetically African, last time I checked, the only reason why I'm in this country subject to your criminal injustice is because you took me based on my race from my native home and brought me here to toil in your soil 243 years for free. So please don't bring up the race card, because if you want to discuss the race card, dear white America, I don't think there's another card that you can play. Okay? Last time I checked, it was your forensics team that mishandled the evidence at the crime scene. Black folks didn't do that. He was Asian. We had nothing to do with collecting the forensic evidence on the scene. Huh? And what about the cop who picked up Nicole Brown's cell phone, tampering with a crime scene? We didn't do that. Y'all made the silly ass mistakes. See, your white privilege bit you in the ass because you thought you were so free to do whatever you want because you just knew you were going to get a conviction, because whenever y'all accuse a black man of doing anything to a white woman, whenever y'all accuse a black man of doing anything to a white woman, whenever y'all accuse a black man of doing anything to a white woman, Bill Cosby, anything to a white woman, Tavis Smiley, a black man accused of doing anything to a white woman, Ezekiel Elliott, we are presumed guilty until proven innocent. And in this one case, Your racist asses did not get what you've been getting for 400 years, and now you want to cry foul. I'll be damned. Black people got to deal with what you deal with 365 days a year for 400 years, and you got the nerve to cry. Welcome to our world, white people. Welcome to my experience, white people. Welcome to my reality, white folks. How dare you accuse us of being for our color and not being for justice? Since when have white folks ever been for justice against black people? Were you for justice in the Michael Brown case? Were you for justice in the Freddie Gray case? Were you for justice in the Emmett Till? Were you for justice in the Dr. King murder trial? Were you ever for justice when it came to us? Never. You say, well, Kobe Bryant got off for being accused of doing something to a white girl. That's because the white girl settled out of court and refused to go forward with her charges. That's why. He was never found innocent, although I personally believe he was, but she settled out of court. She chose money first. That's why that went no further. And Kobe Bryant at the time, being the #1 basketball player in America, LeBron had not yet ascended. He was still financially useful to the corporate elite. They saved him not for justice, but for revenue and future exploitation. So on June 13th, 1994. Oh, and not only that, one of the police took evidence home with them. Y'all remember now? One of the police who showed up on the crime scene took evidence to his house. He took evidence to his damn house. Who takes evidence from a crime scene to their house? Who picks up somebody's cell phone, a victim laying dead, but you want to go through her phone, tampering with the evidence? The forensics team mishandled the evidence. And then you got the most notorious racist of the 20th century on the stand being cross-examined, lying through his damn teeth. Your dumbass should have lost the case. Your dumbass should have lost the case. That's what y'all get for being so arrogant and so presumptuous of your white privilege. Being so arrogant and so presumptuous of your white privilege that it bit you in the ass. But let me tell you why OJ really walked. If he was guilty. If he was guilty. You know why OJ walked? You want to know why OJ walked? Because not long before the OJ case, there was another case known as Rodney King. Before the OJ case, just a few years earlier, there was another case known as Rodney King. When Rodney King, a black motorist, was beat by multiple white cops, stomped, spit on, kicked, beat with a blackjack. He posed no threat. He was intoxicated on the ground, posed no threat. They almost beat the man to death, broke his jaw, blacked his eye, broke bones in his body. The brother's dead now. Rest in peace to Rodney King. He didn't understand white supremacy. That's why he asked the most famous question of all now. Can't we all just get along? Rest in peace to Rodney King. He's gone now, but he asked the most famous question in American history. Can't we all just get along now? And as you white folks know, all of the officers in the Rodney King situation were acquitted of their guilt. And not one of you white folks crying about OJ cried for my brother, Rodney King. Not one of you white folks crying about OJ cried for my brother, Rodney King. Not one of you racist white supremacists crying about the OJ verdict shed a single tear or made a single outcry for what happened to our brother, Rodney King, just a few years earlier. You didn't cry about that, but you want to cry about OJ. So if you really want to know why OJ got off, it had nothing to do with that racist. It really ain't have nothing to do with picking up cell phones that you ain't got no business touching. It ain't really have nothing to do with the forensics team making mistakes in the collection of the evidence. It had nothing to do with a poor prosecution scheme from the beginning. You know what it really had to do with? Check this out, brothers and sisters. This is where white supremacy destroyed itself. I'm going to show you where white supremacy destroyed itself. OJ walked, not for the case. OJ walked not because he was famous. OJ walked not because of Mark Furman or Christopher Coon Darden or Marsha Clark. OJ walked because Los Angeles had already burned 3 years earlier, and the city couldn't afford to see Los Angeles burn again. So had you found the police guilty of beating up our brother half to death, OJ may have been convicted. But the city power structure said we cannot afford to experience again what we had in Watts 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and what we just had in Rodney King 3 years ago. The city of Los Angeles and the state of California said, as much as we want him to go to jail for this, if we do this, and the blacks riot again, if there is another revolution in the streets, if we let this happen again, all of the businesses in Los Angeles will move out. All of the corporations in Los Angeles will move out. All of the white folks in Los Angeles will move out, and we will lose the white vote, and black people will take control of Los Angeles. So I don't care what you got to do. OJ does not go to jail, because if he goes to jail and black people lose this case, we will lose our city. And that's facts. And that's facts. OJ Simpson walked because the police in the Rodney King case walked. Blame your racist ass self. It is you who let OJ walk, not us. Not the black jury. It was white and racist, pasty pilgrims. It was because you could not be fair to Rodney King that we destroyed that damn city. And if you had put OJ in jail, you know for sure that city would have burned again. So it was your own racism in the Rodney King trial that liberated OJ. So let's give white folks a hand for letting OJ out of jail. Let's give white America a hand for letting OJ go home. It was your racist dumb asses that opened up the avenue that allowed for OJ to walk. That's right. It was almost, ironically, a form of justice. It was almost a form of, it was street justice. Street justice made OJ free. So let's look at the details, brothers and sisters. June 13th, 1994 was the date of infamy. June 13th, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, rest in peace, were found dead. June 13th, 1994. On June 17th, after a highway police chase, O.J. Simpson turns himself in. June 17th, 1994. On June the 20th, O.J. Simpson pleads not guilty. On September 9th, the prosecutors decide that they will not seek the death penalty. The reason they didn't seek the death penalty is because they know they wouldn't have got it. Okay? Christopher Darden, I got some questions for you, my brother. You cried after OJ was acquitted. You cried in court after OJ got it. White folks was hugging and holding your black ass. You the blackest thing in the courtroom. White folks is coddling you and hugging you and holding you because OJ got acquitted for a crime you can't absolutely prove he committed. But did you cry like that for Rodney King? Did you cry like that for Michael Brown, Christopher Darden? Did you volunteer your legal services to go and help Walter Scott or Freddie Gray or Sandra Bland? Since you want to cry for injustice, Christopher Darden. Since you want to cry for injustice, Christopher Darden, I'm asking you a question, my brother. Since you cried when OJ got acquitted, did you cry when the killer police were acquitted, not even charged in some cases? Did you cry for them? Did you cry when Tamir Rice was riddled with bullets in Cleveland, Ohio? Christopher Darden, did you cry then? What are you doing about it, Christopher Darden, since you so in love with justice? Has anyone heard Christopher Darden's name mentioned at all in any of these police brutality cases? I'm asking a question because maybe I'm wrong. Has anyone heard Christopher Darden's name mentioned as helping any of the families involved in police genocide cases bring justice to their son and daughter's killers? Does anybody? Because I haven't heard his name. But whenever they talk about OJ, he the first one on the Oprah Winfrey show. Whenever they talk about OJ, he the first one on Whoopi Goldberg's show. Whenever they talk about OJ, he the first person running his mouth. But when they talk about Tamir Rice, he's silent. Freddie Gray, we don't hear from you, Christopher Darden. But he's still running around pushing new books on OJ and all this crap. Yes, you are, my brother. You are absolutely. I don't mean to disrespect you. I love you as an African. Maybe one day you will save your soul and validate your relationship to your community by doing something positive for it. Maybe the brother will wake up. We never give up on Africans. Do you understand me? I love you, brother, but you can't work here. Black men married to white women, I love you, but you cannot be in this movement until you purge yourself of unnecessary energy. I hate no one, not even your white wife, but I love African people, and I refuse to let you bring your integrated consciousness into a Black Power revolution. I refuse to let you bring your integrated consciousness into a Black Power revolution. I'm drinking some apple cider vinegar. It's nasty, but I was told by my elder vegans, every day you wake up, some apple cider vinegar. Woo! But I got a lot of white people trolling on my Instagram too. Okay. So anyway, brothers and sisters, on November 3rd, after 5 weeks of screening, 12 jurors, 8 women and 4 men were chosen. 12 jurors, 8 women and 4 men were chosen. January the 30th, Johnny Cochran makes the opening statements. February the 9th of 1995. February the 9th of 1995, Officer Risque testifies that he picked up Nicole's cell phone without gloves on. February the 9th, white cop testifies he picked up Nicole Brown Simpson's cell phone without gloves and without dusting it off. March 13th, 1995, Los Angeles Police Detective Mark Furman is cross-examined. March the 13th, 1995, Mark Furman is cross-examined and he denies making racist comments. April the 14th, 1995, Dennis Fung, an Asian forensics specialist, admits that he made mistakes during the crime scene. April the 14th, Dennis Fung, an Asian forensics specialist, admits that he made mistakes during the crime scene. June 15th, 1995, O.J. Simpson tries on the infamous glove and says it doesn't fit on June 15th, 1995. On July the 6th, 1995, Marsha Clark rests the prosecution. 58 witnesses the prosecution would present. July the 6th, 1995, Marsha Clark rested her case, rested the prosecution after 58 witnesses. August the 29th, Mark Furman tapes are played in court. On August the 29th, the famous Mark Furman tapes, where he calling black people the N-word and saying how he liked to beat up black folks and how he called his blackjack the nigger stick. Those tapes are played in court on August the 29th of 1995. On September the 6th, Mark Furman pleads the Fifth Amendment 3 times. This is what lost the case. This is what lost the case. September 6th, Mark Furman, the most racist police officer in LAPD history, he pleads the Fifth when asked 3 times about his comments. He pled the Fifth Amendment 3 times. September 22nd, 1995. September 22nd, 1995, the case is over. On September 22nd, 1995, on September 28th, 1995, Johnny Cochran issues the closing statement. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Y'all remember that? The famous Johnny Cochran closing statement? September 28th, 1995. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. And then on October 3rd, 1995, O.J. Simpson is acquitted. October the 3rd, 1995, O.J. Simpson is acquitted of double murder. October the 5th, 1995, O.J. Simpson is acquitted of double murder. September 13th, 2007. Now we moving up. September 13th, 2007. O.J. Simpson is accused of stealing his own sports memorabilia at gunpoint. September 13th, 2007, O.J. Simpson is accused of stealing his own sports memorabilia. September 16th, 2007, O.J. Simpson is arrested without bail in Las Vegas, Nevada. Without bail, September 16th, 2007. On October the 3rd, 2008. On October the 3rd, 2008. He is guilty on all 112 counts. O.J. Simpson is found guilty October the 3rd, 2008 of 112 counts. And he was found guilty 13 years on the day of. Let me show you how white supremacy works, brothers and sisters. O.J. Simpson was found guilty on the same day he was acquitted of a double murder 13 years earlier. Let me say that again. This is how white supremacy never forgets. On the same day he was acquitted in 1995, he was found guilty on that same day, October the 3rd, 2008. Now, for white folks who wondering why black folks allegedly are not concerned with justice, when as far as I'm concerned, there's enough evidence there to acquit OJ, irrespective of his race. As far as I'm concerned, there was enough mistakes made by white folk on the prosecution side, from Mark Furman to Marsha Clark, from racist cop Mark Furman to Marsha Clark. There's enough evidence and mistakes made by y'all alone to clearly conclude that no race card was needed in this case, because the prosecution was horrible. Okay? You tried to play the race card and it didn't work. That's why you mad. But in case you wondering why black folks don't care, because what you claim was a miscarriage of justice on October 3rd of 95 happens to us every day. Let me educate you white folks about how bad, how unfair, how inequitable, how racially discriminatory, how biased, and how racist the American criminal injustice system is. We don't call it criminal justice. We don't get justice. We call it criminal injustice. Let me give you some statistics to help illustrate why we could give a damn. Let me give you some statistics, white people, to illustrate how we could give a damn about a black man being acquitted, allegedly, of a crime against white folks. Because y'all never are found guilty for crimes against black people. White folks are almost never found guilty of crimes y'all commit against black folks. Nothing I'm giving you today will save you. The information is preparation. And this is where the conscious community is falling short, because they think they struggling when they do a YouTube video. They think they struggling against racism when they do a debate. They think they struggling against racism when they produce a documentary. They think they struggling against racism when you share information. You ain't struggling against racism when you share information. Struggle is direct or indirect conflict with your oppressor, those who control the opportunities for you to escape your oppression. Until you struggle directly with the power structure, you ain't in no struggle. You ain't in no struggle. Okay? When I'm fighting for these black kids in them schools, that struggle, I'm directly going up against the power structure. You Negroes are sitting in the comfort of your house using Wi-Fi on your computer, talking black talk, and ain't done a damn thing about our problems. Talking about you struggling. We have to redefine the definition of a revolutionary, because now we have an internet-based revolutionary that is compromising the concept. We have to redefine what a revolutionary is, because we have a new internet-based revolution definition that I do not ascribe to. But let me educate white America on the racism that we have to deal with every day in the criminal injustice system, brothers and sisters. 35% of black children, 7 through the 12th grade, are suspended at least once in their school career. Only 15% for whites. Now, keep in mind, we're only 12% of the population. Keep in mind, we're only 12% of the population and shrinking every day. But although we're 12% of the population, 35% of our kids are suspended at least once between the grades of 7 and 12, but only 15% of white kids for the same offenses. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. Black people are incarcerated 5 times the rate of white people in America. Black people are incarcerated 5 times the rate of white folks in America. And they crying about OJ. Black women are twice as likely as white women to be incarcerated for the same offenses. Blacks and Afro-Latinos are 56% of all incarcerated people. I'm not making this up. This is coming straight from white folks. Because some of y'all don't know how bad it is for us. Some of you, I love America Negroes. Some of you, I pledge allegiance Negroes. Some of you, I will not take a knee for the flag anthem Negroes. Don't even know 56% of all people in jail. I'm citing facts. 56% of all people in prison in America are Black and Afro-Latino. We are only 30%. When you take the blacks and the Afro-Latinos, we are only 30% of America, but we are 56%. We are more than half of the prison population. Talking about we made progress. Black children are 32% of children arrested, but they are 42% of children detained. 52% of children of cases that are forwarded to criminal court. I want y'all to hear this one. This is a real good stat. Listen to me. Black children are no more than 12% of all students in America. All children. Listen. But they are more than half of all children whose cases are waived at the juvenile level and sent to adult court. I hope you heard what I just said. And I hope you black parents out there are taking care of your children and raising them right, because we cannot afford to see any more black boys or girls go to jail, because more than half of all kids whose cases are waived at the juvenile level and sent straight to adult court, meaning they are prosecuted as adults. 52% of children prosecuted as adults are black. I'm going to say it again. 52% of all children, 52% of all children who are prosecuted as adults in America are black. That blew my damn mind when I was doing my research. Not a Google search, real research. Not a Google search, real research. Not a Google search, Hoteppers, real research. 52% of all children tried as adults, waived at the juvenile level, sent straight to adult court are black. Oh, I got the statistics today. Let's talk about black people on death row. Let's talk about black people on death row. Most death row are black people in these states. If you live in one of the states I'm about to name, most of the people on death row in these states are black. Let me say it again. Most of the people sitting on death row right now, waiting to be executed, are black people. These states include South Carolina, California, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Ohio. I repeat, black people, if you live in South Carolina, California, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Ohio, most of the people on death row in your state look like you. Although you are a numerical minority in your state, you are the majority in death row. Although you are a numerical minority in your state, you are the majority on death row. We are living in a state of crisis. This is genocide. Worse than slavery. Talking about you pledge allegiance to the flag. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. California. Now, I told you, the states I just named, most of the blacks, most of the people on death row are black. Most of the people on death row are black in the states I just named. But in the states I'm about to name, they have the most black people on death row. Do you understand the difference? The states I named, most people on death row are black. Majority. But in the states I'm about to name, they have the highest numbers of black people on death row, numerically. You got me? So numerically, which states have the most blacks on death row numerically? By the numbers, the most blacks on death row in America, California again. California off the hook. I want to know what's the black power agenda in California. Watts, talk to me. South Central, talk to me. Compton, talk to me. LA, talk to me. Sacramento, talk to me. Oakland, San Diego, Richmond. Somebody tell me why we got so many black folks on death row in California. What's going on in California? Y'all supposed to be the multicultural state. What's going on in California, brothers and sisters? So in these states, they have the most black people on death row. California, Florida. What's going on in Florida? Fort Lauderdale, Miami, talk to me. Orlando, Tallahassee, talk to me. Why we got so many black folks on death row in Florida, California, Texas, and Pennsylvania? Florida, California, Texas, and Pennsylvania. Florida, California, Texas, and Pennsylvania have more black people on death row than any other state in America. Not only that, Texas is special. In Texas, twice as many black people on death row than whites. Not only do they have some of the most blacks on death row, not only do they have some of the most blacks on death row, in Texas, twice as many black folks on death row as white folks in Texas. I got a question to my black lawyers out there. I got a question for my black lawyers out there. What are we doing about this? I'm not an attorney. For my black lawyers out there, what the hell are you doing about this? Because every time I turn around, I see white folks on the front lines. They don't care. They just getting paid. Nonprofit research, nonprofit agendas, nonprofit. What else are they doing? You know, they do these lobbying, but they getting paid. It's about money for the white folks. It's about money. Special interest. They're not doing it because they care about us. It's about money in politics. What are the black lawyers doing about this? I digress. Drug charges. Y'all need this to be fresh in your minds, brothers and sisters, because we catching hell and y'all don't know it. We catching hell and y'all don't know it. We catching hell. And let's talk about drug charges. First of all, in 2014, 2.3 million blacks were incarcerated. Okay. In 2014, 2.3 million black people were incarcerated. How many black kids in special ed? 2.3 million. 2 million black kids in special ed, 2 million black people in jail. There's a direct relationship. School to prison pipeline. What are we going to do about it? There's a direct relationship. School to prison pipeline. What are we going to do about it? Drug charges. Black people are charged with drug crimes 6 times the rate of white people, although white folks use more drugs. Blacks are 12% of drug users, but 33% of those incarcerated for drugs. In 2012, the United States of America spent $81 billion on corrections. Did you just hear what I said? I'm going to repeat that because y'all need to remember that. I hope you taking notes. Watch this again. The next time somebody tell you that America is equal for black folks, please give them some of these statistics. The next time somebody tells you America is the land of the free, please quote some of these statistics. In 2012, the United States spent $81 billion, not million, not million, not million. In 2012, the United States of America spent $81 billion on corrections. But they crying about you getting some WIC milk. They crying about some food stamps. They crying about Section 8 housing. They crying about a little measly welfare check. Do you know that the welfare budget of the United States is less than 1% of the federal spending? I'm going to say it again. The welfare budget for Black America is less than 1% of the America's budget, and they crying about some damn food stamps and WIC. Tell them to get out your damn face. Tell them to get out your damn face. Come to me about no damn welfare. That ain't nothing but pennies. You spending $81 billion on corrections, and you spend about 10 times that amount on so-called defense. Bombs and guns and biological weapons against black folks. Get out my damn face about no welfare. I built this damn country. I built this damn country. Welfare? How about reparations? Welfare? How about you give me my reparations? We don't need no more of your welfare. Even exchange. Give me my ancestors' unpaid labor check. Give me my ancestors' unpaid labor check, and I will gladly withdraw from your welfare programs. Until then, shut the hell up and keep it moving. Let's go on. Let's talk about so-called alleged perpetrators of crime. Let's talk about alleged perpetrators of crime. Let's talk about alleged perpetrators of crime. 1976, since 1976, stay with me, brothers and sisters. Since 1976, 505 black people have been executed in the United States. Since 1976, 505 black people have been executed in the United States of America. We represent 35% of all people who were sentenced to death. I'm going to say it again. Black people represent, we only 12% of the population. We only 12% of the population, but we are 1/3, more than 1/3 of all people who have been killed, not waiting for death, but who have actually been given death, not sentenced to death, but we are 34% of all people murdered on death row since 1976. If you black and you support the death penalty in America's courts, you are a coon. I'm going to say it again. If you are black and you support the death penalty for black people, I'm not talking about Dylan Roof. His ass deserves it. I'm not talking about that. Okay? I'm not talking about the Jeffrey Dahmers and Dylan Roofs and Michael Mansons. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about for us. For us. His ass deserves it. But for us, you cannot be black and support the death penalty when it's being unequitably, disproportionately used against us. And this is why our gangster rappers need to be careful with the message they send our children. This is why the gangster rappers need to be careful with the message that they send our children. This is why the gangster rappers need to be careful with the message that they send our children, because if you advertising murder, you advertising death row. If you advertising murder, you advertising death row. Now, let me be honest. Since 1976, 820 whites have been executed. More white people have been killed than black folk, right? But that would make sense because there's more white people in America. But what doesn't make sense is that we represent 35% of all executions, but we only 12% of the population. In other words, white people were underrepresented on death row. White people are underrepresented on death row, and black people are overrepresented on death row. White people are underrepresented on death row. Black people are overrepresented on death row. Now, let's look at the victims. Since 1976, murder victims, 75% white, 15% black. So for those who were sentenced to death, they only were sentenced to death for killing 15% black folks, 75% white folks. Do you understand what's going on? That means when black people are killed, their life isn't considered valuable enough to take someone else's. But when white people are killed, their lives are considered extremely valuable enough to take someone else's life. Let's look at the numbers. When the victim was black, stay with me. When the person killed was black, only 20 white people were executed. When the victim was black, when the person whose life was taken was black, only 20 white people have been killed. But when the victim was white, 289 blacks were killed. Do you see what's going on? Let me say it again. I want to see if you got your thinking cap on. When the victims were black, only 20% of whites were executed. But when the victims were white, 289 blacks were executed. In other words, death row is almost exclusively used to kill blacks who have offended against white folks. And guess what? The statistics are only for 1976 forward. Let me ask you a trivia question. Why are the statistics only including 1976 to 2018? Can anybody tell me why the statistics are only including 1976 to 2018? You know why? Because if you look at it from 1975 back to 1875, could you imagine what these numbers would look like, brothers and sisters? If we went from the end of Reconstruction, 1875, to 1975, the era of mass incarceration and deindustrialization, these numbers would be worse than what they are, and they already bad. And these numbers do not include black people murdered by the KKK. These numbers do not include black people murdered by the police. These numbers do not include black people murdered at our nation's hospitals. These numbers do not include black people murdered by other white folks like George Zimmerman, who claim to be standing their ground. These are only black people murdered by the court. But what about all the other black folks who are murdered on the street outside of court, including at the hands of other black folks? So you ask the question, Doc. You've given me the historic information on death row, but what's going on with death row in America right now, Dr. Ifatunde? What's going on? Who's on death row today, right now? Statistics. Right now, on death row in America. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this? On death row in America right now, there are 1,168 black people waiting to be executed. On death row in America right now, 1,168 black people awaiting execution. We are 42% of the people on death row right now. We are 42%. That means, brothers and sisters, our death row percentage is nearly 4 times our representation in the population. How can black folks be 4 times on death row their representation in the regular population? Brothers, somebody said they don't think this is a black-white issue. I'm blocking you. That was the dumbest shit I heard all day. Somebody just said this is not a black and white issue. See, this is what's wrong with you. You so in love with white folks that you can't even have a little compassion for yourself. You so in love with your oppressor that you can't even have a little bit of compassion for your own people. There's 1,168 black people who are waiting to get their life taken, brothers and sisters. I do not believe in the death penalty for black people. I do not. Because the criminal injustice system cannot be fair with us. So why would you support the taking of life by an institution that is historically racist and has never demonstrated the ability to be fair towards us? I'm calling on the ancestors. Let's keep going. How many white folks on death row? 1,196 white people on death row right now. 1,196 white people on death row right now. There's more whites than blacks. But guess what? There's only 28 more whites than blacks. Excuse me? They are over 75% of the population, but they're only 42% of death row. Black people are 12% of the population. We are 42% of death row. How can we have an equal, almost equal, minus 28 lives, almost equal, minus 28 lives? How can you have almost the same amount of blacks as whites on death row in America right now when they are more than 75% of the population and we are over 12? This is genocide. This is genocide. And one of the biggest mistakes that we are making as a people is we keep identifying with America. And because we do not identify as prisoners of war, as the descendants of enslaved Africans in America, we cannot take the United States to International Criminal Court at the United Nations because we continue to identify as citizens of this country. When will we wake up? I am not an American. I am not an American. You are not an American. When do we stop identifying? And no, we don't have to call ourselves Moors. And no, we don't have to put a red fez on our head. And no, it's now or never. Nat Turner said now. George Jackson up on my wall. George Jackson said, I'm not waiting. Show you this black man right here. This black man right here said he ain't waiting. This black man right here said he not waiting. I didn't say Soledad O'Brien. I said Soledad brother. Does anybody know what date George Jackson bust out of jail and met his martyrdom at the hands of the racist California police? What day did George Jackson Black Liberation Army, Soledad brother, what day did he break out of the jails of North America? What day? In California? August the 21st. August the 21st. All Black August the 21st. 3 years before I was born, my brother broke out of jail and said, I'm going to do like Nat Turner did on August the 21st. And Nat Turner said, I'm going to do like Jean-Jacques Dessalines did on August the 21st. And I'm going to take my freedom by my own hands. Brothers and sisters, was this beneficial? If it wasn't beneficial, let me know. Did you learn something today? Did you understand today why you got to be unapologetically African? Did you understand that it is be a revolutionary or die? It's that simple. We focused on police brutality as we should, but we're not even looking at death row. We're not even looking at the amount of prisoners in jail. 72% of all Marylanders, Black people in jail in Maryland are Black. We are 72% of all prisoners in Maryland. Vermont, 1 out of every 15 Black men is in prison. Texas and Pennsylvania, California, Mississippi, more Blacks on death row than whites. Chicago and Cleveland got a 76% more white police rate than their population in the city. We didn't even get to felonies. That's going to be part 2. We didn't even get to juvenile crime. That's going to be part 2. We didn't even talk about Donald Trump now wants drug dealers to be murdered. Did y'all hear that last week? Brothers and sisters, did you hear Donald Trump say he wants the Justice Department to pursue the death penalty for non-violent drug offenders? That's called genocide. When are you going to give up your American identity and let us fight as descendants of Africa in America, brothers and sisters? I'm not going to die as a Black man who only had a good voice. I'm not going to die as a Black man who only gave good speeches. I'll be damned if I'm going to go down in history as another orator. I want to do like these men. I want to do like George Jackson, the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, Patrice Lumumba, Frederick Douglass, Kwame Nkrumah, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henry Christophe, Maurice Bishop, Amilcar Cabral, Thomas Sankara, Steve Biko, Robert Sobukwe, Chris Ani, Huey P. Newton, Little Bobby Hutton, Ida B. Wells, Sojourner Truth, John Brown Westworm, Henry Highland Garnett, Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. I could call out ancestors for 24 hours without stopping. Please don't test me. Please don't test me. So brothers and sisters, I want to say peace and Black power. Be safe. Get ready for another week of work tomorrow.
Such a powerful video. I've always made it clear that I'm always going to bring videos that will liberate your mindset from mental slavery. And that is exactly what I've been doing. I'm happy I'm bringing people like Dr. Umar Ifatunde, Minister Louis Farrakhan, and other Black heroes who has plans to empower Black people around the world. And that is what this platform has been dedicated to do. We are just trying to empower, enlighten, and educate our people from mental slavery. Please, if today is your first time coming to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. I'm always your guy, De-Graft Amoako. Thanks for watching.